Canadians are completely wrong about US tariffs. Most do not understand how they work or how it affects them, but I'm going to break it down right now. Tariffs are basically taxes that the US government is charging their own people for all the imported goods coming in from Canada. Canadians are not having to pay anything extra. It's American companies incurring this tax, and they're going ahead and adding on these costs to their consumers who are Americans. This is going to force US companies to purchase products made locally, as it's going to cost them cheaper than buying them from Canada, and it's also going to reduce demand for Canadian companies as well. Now for the big question, why is Trump doing this? Number one, Trump feels it's going to protect American companies, as it'll encourage consumers and businesses to buy American-made products instead. This is also going to help other struggling US industries compete with cheaper imports from other countries like China. Number two, it's going to encourage companies to produce goods in the US. So companies that are outside of the US are going to begin producing their goods in the US so people buy their products, and of course this is going to create more American jobs. Number three, trade negotiation leverage. So Trump is really smart, and he's going to use these tariffs as a bargaining tool. This is going to push other countries just like Canada into trade concessions or policy changes that do favor the US. And number four, government revenue. The US government is going to collect money which now they can use for public projects or to reduce budget deficits. Love him or hate him, Trump is not a politician, he's a businessman, and he's going to do anything and everything to make the US prosper and profit. So here's where the problem is. Although a lot of people don't want to back down to the US, when Trudeau imposes retaliatory tariffs, it will only make our cost of living higher, and it will also raise inflation. You're probably thinking, how is it going to increase our cost of living? Well, if we're charging the States, let's say 25% tariff on all products coming from the States to Canada, that means that we are going to have to absorb that extra 25%, and the Canadian public is going to have to pay 25% more for all the products that come into the US. These are what's known as first order effects, but second order effects will come down the road due to shrinking economies of scale. This means that if we aren't selling as much, we don't need to produce as much, which means that our cost per unit will go up and we will end up paying more. There are many different ways as to how this can play out, but as somebody that is living in Canada, I strongly believe that we need to focus on what our own government is doing. I find it insane that we are one of the countries that pay the most amount of taxes. However, we are still in a massive deficit, and over 50% of our population is struggling. Clearly, the system is completely broken, and there is a very big mismanagement of money happening in Canada. Let's not blame Trump for Canada's demise. We need to ask more questions and find out where our money is going. Canada was in trouble before Trump, so let's start asking the right questions, and let's take action, and let's take accountability. Is Trump the problem, or is it the Canadian government?